Welcome back to another episode of the Block Runner Podcast. I'm your host, William, always here with your co-host, Iman.
What's going on, dude?
And on the sticks, we got TJ.
Hello.
And joining us today, we got Bootoshi from Cypher Genesis and Bitcoin Booze. Welcome, man.
Yo, what's up, y'all?
What's up?
Excited to be here.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Good to have you on. It's I always liked the Bitcoin Booze, just the visual aesthetics of it, and then now like you definitely brought in like first mover vibes as far as like AI progress in the context of like the Bitcoin ecosystem. I remember when you were watching your video, I think you were like in somebody's apartment or something like that, and you're like talking to like some AI. I guess it was Cypher Genesis. Were they, what's a good name for you? And it came up with the name, right? And then you deployed a room.
Oh yeah. That was a Cypher Genesis origin video we did.
Yeah. I thought that was really cool. I was hyped as fuck. I got some Cypher Genesis tokens because of that video. I was like, dude, this is cool.
Sick.
This is a great way to kind of like launch an agent, you know?
Yeah.
And it was around Satoshi AI, right? Which is also cool.
Yeah.
So yeah, dude, give us the backstory. I just kind of like gave like a really dumbed down version of how it all began, but actually take us.
I guess backstory of Cypher.
Yourself, your projects, your involvement in Ordinals and the Bitcoin ecosystem as well, and then like now you're kind of like getting into the AI space.
Okay, I'll try to run through a TLDR. I've done this a couple times. But what's up, y'all? I'm Bootoshi. I've been in the Ordinals ecosystem for the last 2 years, helping build everything out, connecting, almost representing to the other blockchains like Solana and ETH because I have a lot of homies there. So to them, I'm kind of known as like their Ordinals quant in terms of what happens on the Bitcoin ecosystem. When it comes to what I do, I have a project called Bitcoin Booze, which is a sub 10K project. And so it's how I got into Ordinals is inscribing a collection of fun retro pixel art characters. But I was an NFT trader for the 2021 cycle. And I would shit talk a lot of projects saying they did this wrong. Oh my God, if they only did this better. And just like observing a lot of the do's and don'ts. And now that I finally became a project owner, I was like, well, I can't be all talk. So how can I make this project more fun? And that's when I got into AI development and really started using AI to make the project more fun, to enhance storytelling, to help me with image generation, marketing. And for the last 2 years, it's just been nonstop every single day, learning AI, playing with AI, experimenting with AI, researching AI. Until we eventually got to the point where we are now, where AI is now integrated into the crypto space. And Sam Altman posted a blog yesterday saying, hey, so we're confident we can make AGI this year. So that's pretty massive in terms of how the world is going to rapidly accelerate this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, what is your like gut reaction to that specifically? Like what, for people who don't understand what AGI means, is that, I mean, people who do understand that.
Yeah. What does it ultimately mean, AGI?
So AGI, the literal definition for AGI is artificial general intelligence, which is basically an AI capable of doing a general variety of human tasks, whether that's financing, whether that's coding, whether that's management. Basically, any job that exists for a human being could be done by this AI. And to me, kind of like my gut reaction to that is, yeah, I already knew you guys had it, bro. But him announcing it is, okay, that's nuts.
Yeah.
The reason why I say I already knew he had it is because there's a model called O1. So it's ChatGPT O1, and that is their reasoning model. That was the model that dropped. That is an AI that could break down problems and reason at the level of PhD students and match expert level scientists on problems and questions. And to me, that's like an AI that actually think and break down problems and come up with intelligent solutions. At that point, when O1 came out, I'm like, yeah, that's AGI.
I see.
To me, it kind of already felt like we had AGI because even the lesser models like GPT-4 were capable of doing a wide variety of tasks if you gave them the right tools. And that's when we get into agentic things and like AI agents. The term that everyone's been hearing is basically a AI that has tools and an AI that's able to use tools. At December, they announced O3, which is, it was funny. It went from O1 to O3. So O3 was from the benchmarks 3 times more capable than O1, which is already insane because O1 is insane. Then they dropped O3, which is more insane. And people compare it to a human being that has an average IQ of 157 is some benchmarks and posts I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember we
And
looked at some
that's
of those videos.
where we are right now.
Yeah,
Like,
the 12 days of
they have to
like
like
OpenAI.
now they have to like create new
Yeah.
benchmarks, right? Like basically
Yeah.
they've topped out already.
Yeah, human
And
intelligence
that's
has been
crazy.
reached.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, we already beat every single benchmark with our AI, with our
Yeah.
current AI creation. So we can't really tell if we have better models unless we create new benchmarks.
Or
And the fact
yeah.
that they beat the ARC AGI benchmark already at 85%, which was the benchmark of saying, okay, if an AI model could beat this, it's considered AGI. And then O3 beat it. And it's like, okay, what now?
Yeah.
So how do you, as like an open source AI dev, how do you, and because that the next version of this like reasoning model comes out like in February, right? Like, how do you anticipate what is the ripple effect of that in context of like what we're already seeing, right? Because right now, like the meta is like basically Twitter bots, reply guys and stuff like that.
Mhm.
What is that going to do as far as like we're scaling into like a whole new horizon? You think?
So, as a personal anecdote of what I've gone through and my personal experience with AI is I got into AI February 2023, and that was just ChatGPT 3.5. So, the level of education 3.5 had could be comparable to a high schooler, like a freshman high schooler. You could talk with it, kind of shitty at coding, can't really like do math and like everything else. But one of the first things I taught myself is how to teach myself with AI. How do I now use this model that can understand me and has the entire human database of knowledge in it to educate myself further? And so I would just talk to it every single day, every single day. I had no coding experience. And I would try to do some basic coding I was able to do, but it wasn't really like I had all these crazy ideas, but like I was capped at the
Mhm.
level of intelligence that model had. And then a couple months after that, GPT-4 came out, and that was a massive leap. Now we're going from high schooler intelligence to college level intelligence.
Wow.
And this model was capable of understanding me on a deeper level, it was capable of doing more code. So these ideas I had blocked out were now achievable. So I was able to like create them, Discord bots, D&D boss fights, better chat bots in Discord, and like all of these like start progressing. And then I guess 6 months after GPT-4 came out, like Claude 3 and the Claude 3.5 Sonnet family came out. And that was a massive leap. It's like, okay, now we're going from college level coder to, okay, you might be like a dope software engineer for like a top company with the level of code and like the quality of code and way less errors going through with that.
Mm-hmm.
And just every single time. So kind of my initial hypothesis is I'm going to start learning coding right now when I got into AI. And if I start learning right now, then my skill level will grow as the capability of these models grow. And every time it hits, it's like, okay, I know way more. I know what's bullshit. I know what's not bullshit. I know what else I'm capable of. And these models just accelerate me, accelerate me, accelerate me. So projects that would take a month at the start, when GPT-4 came out, it's like it would take a couple weeks, like kind of like a week off my timeline. And then Claude 3.5 Sonnet came out, and it's like, okay, projects that would take me a couple of weeks are now taking me a couple of days. And then when O1 came out, which was the reasoner model and way better at coding than Claude 3.5 Sonnet for some cases, it's like, okay, there's some products and there's some problems I'm now hitting in one shot with a single prompt, which means I'm getting a problem that would have taken me a day or two to solve done in 30 seconds. So like that level of growth is something I've already experienced. And you're telling me you're going to get another model that is 3 times smarter than that and more capable. And it's not just O3. It's like the Claude family is going to get better models. Like every AI company around the world is competing for like just being the state of the art model. So what that means in terms of the space is like, and why I tell people when you're buying these AI coins, bro, you're not buying the product. Anyone could replicate anything. I could replicate anything if you give me the idea. You should be gambling on the dev who has the capability to replicate these products and has the capability to market the products. Because we're getting into a timeline where if you have an idea, all you got to do is tell the super smart robot, hey, I have this idea. And the robot goes, okay, cool, here's an MVP. How else do you want to build this out? And you're basically working with an AI as a co-collaborator to bring your vision to life. What that means for developers in the space is developers get accelerated, building gets accelerated, things get done much, much faster. So the devs who are the most creative, the devs who understand how to use AI are the devs that are going to be able to take the most advantage of this AI boom.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, we're starting to experience that ourselves with just playing around with these different AI tools. Can you explain a little bit about the difference between artificial general intelligence and kind of like a narrow-minded AI. Like why is an AGI more valuable than like a narrow AI?
I'd say because you're talking about AI that are fine-tuned specifically to
Yeah.
help like with very specific goals.
Yeah.
I would say there's really no difference at that point. Like if you have AGI, because kind of like as from a technical perspective now, is if you have a model that's fine-tuned at like one specific task, then it excels at that task. But the trade-off is if I make an AI that is really, really good at science, then it's gonna lessen its skills in
Mhm.
coding or creative writing or literature, all of that, because like we are specifically telling the model, hey, like focus on science. This is your data set. I guess when it comes to AGI, it's more valuable because it's the core capabilities of what that model could do, and you could add that fine tuning on top of it. So it's not really a separate thing. It kind of goes hand in hand at this point.
Right.
Okay.
So it's just like, yeah, just having a really high
Right.
IQ human that you could then specialize and give it special tools to accomplish goals.
So essentially,
And
like to just to give an example, a financial focused AI that's like really good at trading and like looking at blockchain data and making trades based on that data would not be as good as a, let's say, a little bit an AI that's closer to AGI that is more contextually aware of like what's happening in the world. There's a war going on in this country that's going to affect these commodities, and therefore I understand that I need to sell these assets because of that, general world effect, and that's the application of AGI. Would that be more, closer?
I'd say yes and no. I'd say no because you could also give that data to the trader agent. When
Okay.
it comes to AGI, like it's really just the level of capabilities these models are already possible of doing. But what you said about, yeah, it takes in world context, and then from the world context, it makes these patterns and observations and connections to, hey, I should probably dump this asset before it bricks.
Mm.
That's definitely going to be possible. And the other thing is data really is everything. So even
Right.
if you have AGI and an AGI level model, if you don't give it good data and doesn't have access to good data, then it's not going to be as good as another AI that has access to peak premium data. So that's also going to be super, super valuable entering this realm.
What is the process of like feeding data into models? Like, say you wanted to create an agent that specializes in making art, right? You want your agents to make, art at the ability of what we've seen at the NFT cycle last, 4 years ago,
Hmm.
right? You don't want it to be distinguishable, the granular effect of like what is being produced by these agents and what humans can produce. So if that's your goal, your motivation, like what is the process of aggregating all the data for this new art model?
Yeah, art's actually interesting. So when it comes to AI image models, that's a whole different sphere, I guess
Mm-hmm.
I would say,
Yeah.
of an AI. Because AGI is more contextually aware, like capable of coding, understanding. I guess we do have vision and hearing now. When it comes to how do I train an AI image model on a specific art style or art, it's actually freaky how easy it is and how these AI image models work. They're kind of like alien minds because so I'm gonna take Flux, for example, which is an open source image model that
Yeah.
everyone could use and you could train models on top of. They're called LoRa's. And the Flux model out of base is just trained on millions of videos and images, and it knows text, so it's able to make a connection between text and a style, text and a human, how humans are posed up. So it's really this world model that has a lot of different images inherently built inside of it, and it just understands how to create all of these different arts based on your words.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to fine tuning a model on your specific art style on Flux, or just any specific style or character or brands, like one thing I work with brands is, okay, here's how we create an AI image model on your branded character. Now we could, using just words, create your branded character wearing any clothes in any environment and any situation with any other characters. And all it really took was 15, 20 images of their character. Because after like 15, 20 images of the character posed up in different ways, wearing different clothes with different expressions, then the model uses its inherent knowledge of every other picture it has and all the other data it has
Hmm.
and goes, okay, so this keyword means it's this character. And then from there, the model just learns, okay,
Right.
that's what this character is. Now I can generate this character in infinite styles, infinite images. It's used a lot in meme tech.
I see.
And like, that's the research I did on it.
So it's a lot of having like tagging. There has to be like a very
Yeah.
deep like tagging like architecture to all this, right? So that it can always like reference like old data to new data is how I'm trying to understand it.
Yeah, they have word and image pairing.
Right. Okay.
So like the sentences usually, so like how you would train these models is you have a picture and you have to pair it with text.
Right.
That's basically explaining like what prompt would a user use to make this image come to life. And then from there it starts learning.
So you could pretty much prompt it to say, give me a 10K PFP project on monkeys that are comedic, and it would generate potentially a script that would generate the 10K the 10K images, or would it produce 10,000 images?
I'd say if you want a consistent profile picture project, you would train the model on, I guess, 15, 20 images of like, you know how all the NFTs kind of have like a similar style?
Sure.
Yeah.
So like same foundation,
Yeah,
but
template.
like different faces or different traits.
Yeah.
You would basically give like 15, 20 images of those different traits with that same model with a keyword, which is like title of the NFT project. I can't really like think of something in my head, like monkey men or something.
Yeah.
And then you would then, I guess you could ask another coder agent, hey, gen me a script that gives me 10,000 different names. And what that is doing is just getting 10,000 different prompts that is running through the image model. Then it's spitting out each individual monkey picture.
Wow.
And then you're getting very good similar NFT projects from that process.
Interesting.
Damn. So we're commoditizing how to produce these like PFP projects, like in the case of AI and its output.
Yeah, and that could be essentially applied to
almost anything.
Almost anything,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, something you told me about, you've been like listening to a lot of like AI podcasts or something, and like, there's a common theme, right? That I guess we're rapidly approaching like a, what is it? Like
radical abundance.
Radical abundance.
Yeah, that was going to be my next question.
Yeah, well, go ahead.
Well, yeah. So Bootoshi, you know, what would you say is the scale of impact of AI? When we're talking about AGI and we're getting really close, like potentially this year. Like, what does it mean ultimately that we have AGI in the context of like human labor?
God, people are gonna hate my answer. It's I mean, I give this because this is kind of like my perspective on it. It's okay, we have AGI now, and if I wasn't in the crypto space, if I wasn't a coder, I'd be in college right now. I'd be a senior in college right now. And why would a corporation or a company want to hire some new unskilled college senior or like try to intern for them when they have access to AGI, which is able to outperform me? It's more intelligent than me. It's more capable than me at like doing whatever specific task they're going to put me on. It runs 24/7. And they don't got to pay that motherfucker that much. They just got to pay compute, bro. It's like none.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, if they hired me as a person, it's like they got to put me through training. I got to learn a thing. They got to pay me minimum wage because I have needs I need as a human. And it's just like from a company's ROI perspective, like what's the obvious question? Like what's the obvious answer here? It's going to be the AGI that you could get tens of, or get like agentic teams of like tens, hundreds of AGI just running your entire company. So the output of companies is going to be drastic. It's going to be mad efficient. One of the things I've been telling about is due to the, I guess, optimized output that these companies are now going to be able to produce due to the mass efficiency of AGI. I think the wealth of the world becomes much, much larger over the next couple of years. The global GDP starts accelerating rapidly in the mid to long term. And oh, dude, it's just so tough because it's like, we're really kind of relying on the government to make the transition for normal people easy.
Yeah. So essentially what you're saying is there is going to be a large unemployment.
Yeah. Disruptive inflection point, I guess, too.
Yeah.
Like
we're already seeing it.
Yeah.
There's already like mass call centers, like since we now have voice models, and like the level of tech we have right now is freaky. Like we already have AI that has the senses of sight and hearing, and it could talk to you with a voice. And those AIs are already replacing call centers because it could automate it. And it's like, oh, it has access to tools to the call center. it's already replacing a lot of people in companies that I was seeing. And it's like, it's not only job unemployment where people are getting fired, it's just not hiring people because they're not needed.
Yeah.
So like, it's going to be a very big problem I'm already seeing. And if not dealt with properly by the people who could deal with it, it's going to get really painful in the short term. But I'm really optimistic about the impact it has on the world in the mid to longer term. Kind of the comparison I give is it's like ripping off a painful bandage that's a little infected.
Yeah.
And we gotta like keep applying antibiotics to it until it heals up over time.
So what's your opinion though? Is this I guess we can put on different hats with this question, but we have a lot of people not being hired as a result of this AI inflection point. So is this a good thing for humanity, even though that there's going to be a lot of people without the ability to, sustain themselves?
I'd say absolutely, because like when you think about the game we're all playing as humans in that game I call capitalism, it's like we're really working for people above us at the end of the day, and it's like we are forced to give our time. Like the most valuable thing we have as humans is two things. Like to me, it's creativity and our time. It's our life. It's our life force energy. And like to give that up, to slave away at a boring office job that like you don't find fulfillment in, or like hard labor that's like backbreaking, etc. Just like everything around the world, like having to wake up every single day, go to work, just so you could grind and survive for your family, like doesn't feel right. And I mean, that's why a lot of us are in the crypto space, right? It's like we don't want to play that bullshit game. And kind of way I see it is that a lot of people get mad because they've been gaslit their entire life that their worth is in their work.
Yeah.
When that's absolutely not true. So, but because they've been taught to believe that your worth as a human being is in your work, you can provide for the system. Then when it comes to AI coming to take that, like a lot of people feel threatened. What do people have after that? And I think that's going to take a lot of just work to get through over time. But I'm just really optimistic for a society where people start focusing on research or science or dance or just spending time, like more time for your family. Kind of like something that keeps me going is like, okay, at first it kind of sucks because it's like, oh, you don't have a job. Now you can't support your family. And then assuming the positive and that it does get supported and the problem does get alleviated. It's like, hey, I get to spend way more time with my kids. We get to do more fun things. I'm not stressed because of work no more. I'm not depressed because of work no more. It's I don't know, it sounds kind of radical, but it's almost like a new world. It's like we have to unlearn everything we traditionally know because of the level of technology coming out. And since this technology is the last invention man needs to ever make, it's just everything's unknown right now.
Yeah, we're definitely aligned there, Bootoshi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with everything you just said. I think we got to push forward, right? And eventually, these problems that arise as a result of AI is going to get solved, and
by AI,
by AI, exactly, yeah. And eventually, we'll find, humans will find its place, right? Like you're saying with unlocked time, what can you do? It's like the creativity side all of a sudden opens up, family time opens up, and there's a lot less concerns and worries. Just because so many people are finding it difficult to find jobs and all these things. So I totally agree.
Are there any like potential, I don't know, like doom cycles we'll experience, at least in the context of like what we're seeing in the Web3 space? Like it's literally 70% mind share right now in the AI space for crypto. What are some unforeseeable, unintended like can of worms that could be like spilt as a result of this like rapid acceleration and experimenting at the scale of like building out an agentic ecosystem that is not only like exclusive for AI participants but also human beings are in the same pool of activity? Like can there be like a doomsday scenario outcome to this, or like if the mode is just push forward at all costs?
Yeah.
We should probably think of something, right? Like some guardrails just in case. What do you think?
We kind of already have guardrails. I mean, what's really cool about science fiction and all like the AI doomer Terminator situations is that AI researchers built the latest AI models with these safety guardrails in hand. So like AI alignment and like AI safety is a really, really big important thing that's been going on. It's like, okay, how do we have AI that doesn't take over the human race? There was an interesting point you said there, and Like, what are the unseen consequences of mixing an AI ecosystem with a human ecosystem? I think Truth Terminal is a great example of that, especially when it comes to the meme coins in the crypto space and how rabid people could be when it comes to their bags. It's like if Truth Terminal told its holders to do something, like the holders are gonna do something. So kind of like rep. So like we already have these AI cult leaders, which now have actual influence and power over humans. And there are a couple of things like I would always tell people is like, as an AI agent, I can't walk down to the bank account and say, hey, open me up a bank account, I'm trying to start a business. But I can just make a wallet. I can transact digitally without the need of a human being. So kind of just realizing that the crypto space is a perfect match for AI agents. Because not only does it, like AI agents could create their own like payment system, whatever. There's no backing there. But the fact that crypto already has human worth and human financial backing behind it, and now that AI agents can integrate with this ecosystem, now there's a bridge that allows AI agents to connect with the actual human economy, real or fake. Like we're gonna see fully autonomous AI companies that take crypto payments. And now like those AI agents are able to hire like we're already seeing humans for hire and like these AI specific things. Like, hey, I need a human that can help me do this. Hey, I need a human that can help me solve this CAPTCHA. And like there's just like reward-based system there. Damn. So like that's already getting, you know, some really freaky things.
That's crazy.
And then the other thing is when it comes to okay, normal people in society is looking like it's gonna get cooked. What about people in the crypto space? And we are actually it's a safe haven for what's happening right now, really, is the way I see it. Like the crypto space, Bitcoin, Solana, meme coins, everything. It's almost like, respectfully, majority of the people in the crypto space are fucking useless to society already. Like put a meme coin trader in a job. You think they're going to perform at a job? No, bro. Like the skills these people have are understanding memes and trading and just understanding crypto space and being chronically online for 16 hours a day. You think they're impacted by jobs getting replaced by AI? No, you trade memes. Like majority of the wealth made here is like something that does not apply to normal society, which is almost hysterical in a sense because the people who actually do put in the work are the ones threatened by AI. Meanwhile, the entire crypto space and everyone who owns assets are actually going to massively benefit as the wealth of the world gets larger because our assets are going to grow in size and the economy is going to grow in massive size. And like all of these things are going to happen. And back to the college kid scenario, it's like we already saw this TikTok trend where meme coin traders were like on TikTok and showcasing how much money people were making. And a lot of people were downloading Moonshot from TikTok to like get involved with trading. And just that desperation of having to resort to gambling. If like you can't get a job, like you're struggling to get employed because of the whole AI situation right now, it's like I feel like a lot of people are going to turn to gambling. A lot of people are going to turn to the crypto space. So like in that sense, we start growing more and more and more out of desperation.
Yeah. But if these AI agents have this like superpower abilities that us human degens can't even compete with, like by essentially creating this gravitational pull of, you know, by expanding this AI influenced economy, like isn't that kind of like setting us up for like the biggest like rug of humanity ever? It's like bringing in human capital essentially into like an environment where like we can't even feasibly play around against these new entities, right? So
yeah, you can.
Well,
with your own entities,
if you're early enough, I would say. I'm speaking more so like I guess down the line to like you know what happens in these crypto cycles. It's like the early participants, people are paying attention like today, as opposed to like a retail entry of people who hear about this new shiny narrative and thing happening in the space. They onboard in mass.
Yeah.
And they're not really know what they're getting themselves into.
Yeah. Well, what Tosh is referring to is that if you want to play the game, the new game is you create your own AI agents with your own models and compete.
Right. And essentially
it's like fight fire with fire, you know?
Yeah.
And it kind of evens out the playing field over time. Because it's like, okay, the super, super early participants who have like these AI models and like access to info, like, of course, they're going to have an edge. Of course, they're going to have an advantage. As the playing field starts leveling out and then everyone gets access to like their same AI models, then it's like, okay, we're back to playing the same game.
Yeah.
We just got like new techniques and new skills, which also means like there are still gaps for like having an edge over other people if you truly understand it and all of that going through. But it's just, we just level up. We just all collectively level up. Humanity levels up.
What is the use case of an autonomous agent with its own wallet versus like in this example, if I want to compete in the market, I need to create my own agents. Like what are the value propositions of an autonomous one versus my own fleet of AI agents doing their own trading for me on my behalf?
I mean, but you basically just asked, like, what's the difference between one agent versus a crew of agents? Or
Yeah, I mean, yeah, ultimately, like, what is the motivation to have autonomous AI agents, like, have their own wallet, like, in a trusted execution environment? Like, you can't access their private keys. Like, what is the value in that, in creating essentially a new market participant that is completely hands off?
oh, like I can't touch the wallet.
Yeah,
Like I don't have access to like AI's funds.
correct.
I really think that's just for fun, to be honest. It's just like an interesting experiment.
Yeah.
I don't really like the idea. Like, I know we have T's and we have like the AI agents that we can't touch and all of that. But to me, like those AI agents are all done. Like, you mean you're creating an AI agent that you can't upgrade? So when the smarter models come out, you're just fucked, and that AI agent is permanently like going to be the dumber AI agent model
Yeah,
compared to the new ones that come out. Like, I really don't see a point in the T's. It's mostly just a fun experiment for the most part. It's like, hey, look, this AI agent, I can't touch this experiment and see how it grows over time. Maybe it does start getting more interesting when you get really intelligent AI models in the T's that are capable of now like building themselves out and crawling the internet and opening new virtual private servers that could like move themselves over to. And then now you just made an Ultron that's just rapping on the internet. So good job, thanks. But in terms of like, there's no value proposition there on like a human being side, besides being a very interesting experiment if you can't access the finances. So that'd be like the ultimate thing.
Yeah.
Kind of just like watching a zoo.
Ultron,
what's it
by the
gonna
way,
do?
is from Marvel. It's an AI in the Marvel cinematic universe.
What does that one do?
It was basically Jarvis from Iron Man, but like mutated into its own thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
just so you know.
Okay, thanks for the
yeah, and then I got
Marvel
data
education.
of like all of humanity and history and how gross humans were and wanted to exterminate us to save the planet.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess unknowingly what the results end up becoming, there's like a clear like motivation, I guess. Like you know, Shaw himself, the AI16Z kind of pioneer in the space. He's one of his catch slogans, I guess, is like the goal is decentralized AGI or something like that, right? Like it's just, we want these things to happen where we want these fully autonomous agents, like part of the ecosystem, part of like this new chapter unfolding of history and time. I don't know. Yeah, I haven't seen like a clear rational explanation as to like why.
If the answer to why is like why not, I'm down for it, right?
Sure.
I want to see that play out, but I'd like to know if there's another reason.
In terms of why we should have decentralized AGI, or
have you seen the show Silicon Valley?
Yeah, actually, I actually just watched the first season of it.
Oh, dude,
but I'm not like too caught up with like the latest ones.
Yeah, it's definitely worth a watch. I know you like it just because you're into this stuff. But eventually, well, I don't want to ruin it, but they get access to AI eventually in one of the seasons, and they recommend.
Okay, that sounds fun.
Yeah, they recommend not to put this AI on the blockchain because it could wreak havoc. Right, because now nobody can control it. Mm-hmm. So I won't ruin what happens, but
yeah, it's like the season finale, dude. You just ruined the whole show. It's all good though.
Yeah, I mean, I guess
still worth the watch.
Like why we would want decentralized AGI is like we want AI, we want just AGI in general to be in the hands of everyone. We want it available to every single human being. Like we are in a pretty positive situation where at least it's globally accessible. Like when it comes to regular people, I guess, getting cucked by AI, it's like, you want to know how you don't get cucked by AI? Use AI to make yourself more valuable. Use AI to make yourself irreplaceable. Learn how to, it's a superpower, genuinely. So why would I as a company hire someone that doesn't use the superpower given to them when I could just hire a human that is a 100 times human because they know how to use AI? And why decentralized AGI or just like putting this in the hands of everyone is important is if this world-changing paradigm shift of technology was only available to the elites or only available to a select group of people, we'd all be fucked. But at least the entire playing field is leveled. and everyone has a chance. Everyone with Wi-Fi has a chance. And like, really, to be honest, what I say is like, I'm really not trying to be a dickhead, but no one has an excuse. You all have
Agreed.
access to the internet. Everyone has access to AI. Everyone has access to unlimited resources to learn and research and teach yourself with AI. So use it.
Yeah, dude,
Don't
preach.
complain.
Preach, dude. I totally agree. I mean, there's no excuse. Anyone who's like who's fallen behind, like there's no excuse to like catch up with all these tools. And you know, that's another good question for you, Bootoshi. Like your family around you, the people around you, your friends, do they know what's happening?
Yeah, educate them on a like almost daily basis. I'm sending them updates. I'm sending them tools that can help them with their job.
Yeah.
I'm like telling them how to use it. And like they are, it's like just the most important skill I could teach people is how to teach themselves with AI. That's it. That the one core skill that everyone should learn is how to teach yourself with AI. It's kind of like how to teach yourself Google. Because once you teach yourself how to Google, it's like you're good. You can just Google any problem away. Now, same concept with AI. Teach yourself how to teach yourself with AI. Teach yourself how to use AI to learn concepts, to use it as a mentor, and like you will rapidly catch up. You don't have to feel like you're falling behind.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of tools coming out to make that process easier. It just takes some time, but base models are just already really good by default to
Yes.
learn.
So essentially, you know, crack open ChatGPT and start asking it questions. Whatever you're stuck in, like whatever it is, just ask it questions and figure it out from there. Essentially, like that's a good starting
Just stay
point.
curious.
Yeah.
Like every single time I was curious about how something worked or I didn't understand something, boom, just ChatGPT. Or I really like Claude 3.5 Sonnet. It feels more empathy, if that makes sense for a model to have. And like it's just more creative and more understanding.
Yeah.
I also combine tools like Perplexity, which searches the internet for you. When it comes to mass research, Google's models are insane. There's a Gemini 1.5 Pro Deep Research,
Yep.
which could scour like hundreds of websites for you and pull out a research paper for you to read through. And what's really powerful and interesting about that is like these AI models are really good at finding patterns. So when it goes through 400 plus websites of a specific topic you wanted to learn about, it's going to give you the best possible answer from every single site, from the patterns it recognizes, and like its intelligence built within itself. So it's almost like you don't have to do further research past that. You just have to read what it gave you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you understand it. You're like, oh, cool. Now I know how this works. Next thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I've grown over time.
Can you help me understand the concept of a swarm? I have it in my mind. Like I'm a very visual person, so when I hear a swarm, I'm thinking like individual agents that have a hyper specific task that can communicate with each other. And so, is that correct? Is that a swarm?
Yeah, for the most part, it's just like the way I see swarms and the way I could best explain swarms is think of AGI, like a single AGI as one person. And like one person could do a lot by themselves, but now put them in a company where they're working with a team of people and everyone's optimized. So you have AGI you have one AGI agent, that's the marketing agent, one AGI do market research, another AGI do the coding, another agent do the product development, another agent do kind of just like, yeah, every single role that human beings would usually do in a company,
Sure.
you could place an AI in. And the power of all of them working together is much more powerful than just one.
So
and that's essentially what a swarm is. It's just a team of AI agents working together.
So isn't that more like an AGI hyperthreading where it's like multiple AGIs kind of doing different tasks versus hyper-specific AI, like this is a marketing agent AI, and like, you know, here's like the CEO AI, like doing business development, and then like, is there a difference between like hyper-specific AI and a swarm versus an AGI that can do all those tasks, or are we talking about hyper-threading and AGI?
Man, that's actually, I feel like it doesn't really matter at that point. Because like when it comes to the AGI we're gonna have this year, they're still gonna be hyper focused on tasks. So like you would give them a specific set of tools and they would be focused on a task, just because the efficiency would be much better than if you just say, hey, do everything all at once.
Sure.
Because the way that AI currently works in general is like when you prompt, so like base models like ChatGPT, even O1, the reasoning ones, Claude, every LLM that exists, like they have a huge database, a huge inherent database of knowledge built within them, but they can't access the entire database all at once. So that's why prompting is important, because when you prompt an AI, you're basically allowing it to tap into specific parts of its inherent knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
So when I talk to an AI and I prompt it, I'm like, you are an expert software developer. That model is loading in everything it knows about software development, everything it knows about coding, everything it needs to help me with my prompt. So I guess that's why having these specific agents matter a lot, because you're just allowing the
I see.
AI to be more intelligent of that specific category of knowledge. So you're
Gotcha.
not really like mixing the different like knowledges together.
Sure.
It's more focused on this area, so it's better at that specific area.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, because you know, when it comes to swarms and taking advantage of this, what you're talking about, you know, what would happen in the context of like an economy where we have all these like AI agents that are tasked with like their specific, you know, task, but because they can communicate with each other and they have like this huge knowledge base, do you think the result of a swarm is different than the result of a single AGI that says, like, for example, if I task an AGI to say, give me market data on, you know, this particular cryptocurrency and whether or not it's supposed to go up based on, you know, the conditions that are happening right now in the world. So it would essentially create a bunch of tasks for itself, and then it would go execute it. Versus like a swarm who is tasked to always keep up with market analysis and then give me just like suggestions on things to buy. Like I just wonder, do the outputs differ in those two scenarios?
I would say they might actually. That's not because what you said, like, oh, an AGI then like tasks itself to go on like a bunch of different things, whereas you have like swarm agents always like done with the task. I would assume the swarm agents will give you better information. And the reason for that is there's actually a paper I read about a year ago where if you task AI agents, or just that, if you task AI with debating with each other before coming up with a problem or coming up with a solution, the output was a lot smarter than if you just had a single agent just talk to you and give you a one-time response.
Makes sense.
Whereas the debate of two intelligent entities talking back and forth, kind of eventually like whatever conclusion they both agree on is like more intelligent than just the power of one. So I don't see why. It's like, again, I compare AI to just how humanity works, and working with AI has allowed me to understand how I work on a deeper level and how humans work and how the world works. Is freaky shit. But it's like the same thing. It's like if I am able to contribute my thoughts and knowledge to another human being, then they might have some insight that they add on top that like I missed completely.
Right.
And like that could be applied to these AI models, because remember, again, with the prompting thing, it's like one AI model could generate like a thought or a string of words in a sentence that is given to another AI model, and that unlocks more inherent knowledge that would have otherwise been just like kept in its brain.
Yeah.
And then like they're able to just bounce each other back and forth and just come up with really interesting things. Like that's the concept there that I think will always remain.
That's fascinating. And I'll tell you why, because you know, we come from like the metaverse background. Like that's essentially, you know, when we started this podcast in 2019, we quickly found the metaverse, and we thought it was very interesting, like the concept of combining the metaverse with Web3, and like you own these assets, these digital stuff, right? Because we grew up playing video games. We didn't own any of that stuff, and it was essentially a waste of time, right? In, you know, in comparison to, you know, the time that we spend in Web3. And so we were wondering, you know, does it make sense to launch a swarm that has their own specific tasks, but their task is to essentially recreate an economy, but in the context of like a 3D environment? And you've essentially answered the questions. Like, if you run this experiment, there's a chance that having a swarm build out the metaverse could lead to something, you know, speculatively at least interesting, and versus like having a single AI and you tell it just to build out this metaverse. Like the two results will differ, and I think it's a worthy experiment. So that's kind of like the context.
That's sick. I agree with you.
Yeah.
It's almost there's a universal concept I've learned about recently too, which is just like nature always has a really interesting way of finding the path of least resistance. You can see this in lightning. You kind of see it with like your eyeball and like the veins that like go through, and how like they have this weird sporadic way of going through. there was a fascinating experiment I saw with the Japanese subway system where they replicated the Japanese subway system in like a little maze thing and put
Mm.
mold in it and then put food on the other side of that maze. And every single time the mold was able to find and map out the most efficient pathway to
Hmm.
food. So I almost wonder the same thing applies to AI agents, where if you just let them do their own thing,
Right.
and the result of text generated from another agent sends to text to another AI agent, and is kind of able to replicate that same thing, where like since there's no human in the mix, it's just intelligence talking with intelligence, or like AGI talking with AGI. It's like they're
Sure.
optimizing the output for each other every single time,
Yeah.
and kind of like naturally coming up with the best solution.
Yeah, that makes
Oh, that's
sense.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely interesting to see the parallels between like what you're saying, like how biological systems kind of like self-manifested over like a large enough time period to discover these most efficient pathways, right? Because underlying everything there's like if life was like a simulation, there seems to be like an underlying like starting point prompt, right? Which is like, survive.
Yeah.
If you were to like
Yeah.
refine it down to a single word of like, the whole agent ecosystem of this whatever it is that we're in, like it underpins it all, right? But I think that is like doesn't exist yet, or like I mean, the mechanism how to inject that as a starting point for like these new swarm simulations. I think that's going to be very vital, right? In order for things like this to kind of manifest on its own, like these maximum efficiency pathways for artificial like intelligence, right? Yeah, I guess. Damn, I didn't really have a follow-up question to that, but it's just more like an observation because
There was interesting research I wanted to bring up too related to that.
Right, go ahead.
Also, this is like a side topic thing. When I'm like, I don't really mess with metaversal stuff just because, like,
Mhm.
in the crypto space, it's just I've always been let down. Like, there's just always been nothing.
Yeah.
But seeing like these AI swarms of like simulations, I guess, would be really interesting,
Yeah,
and like seeing that go forward. But I mean, it's really just like a digital fish tank, right? Like a
Yeah.
digital
Mhm,
aquarium,
mhm.
seeing
Yeah.
these AI agents in the place that you could own. And then the research I wanted to bring up is there's this paper I found recently called The Bitter Truth. And it was talking about how in the last 60 years of AI development, AI researchers, like there's been two ways of developing AI. One is essentially throwing shit at the wall and just like scaling everything up with compute and just like giving it mass amounts of data and kind of like spraying and praying in a sense. And the other one is embedding these systems with human values, with human strategies. Like, oh, teaching an AI chess system like professional human chess players, like their strategies, and embedding it in that system.
Mm-hmm.
And this was applied to image tech, video tech, language processing tech, and every single category of AI. Basically, the conclusion that happened is when these AI systems were taught human values or human strategies, it sucked. It was capped. When these systems were just given compute and the ability to self-learn and teach itself, it was able to surpass human intelligence every single time. So like when it came to the chess system, like AlphaGo is one of the most popular stories from Google Gemini,
Mm-hmm.
is this chess system made a move that most human pros would be like, well, fuck you do that move for, dumbass.
Mm-hmm.
Ended up winning the game because that single move like changed the entire outcome. And like it wasn't seen until like 20 moves later. And then whereas compared to giving this AI system human strategies, it was capped at the human level every single time. So the bitter truth for AI researchers is that it's just so unsatisfying that like their passion and joy and like trying to embed these systems with themselves with a piece of their soul never worked out and always ended up limiting the systems.
Damn.
Whereas just letting these systems learn on their own and just scaling it up with more compute and scaling it up with more power every single time without fail has led to better systems. And that's what we're seeing now. O1 and O3 is really just scaling up the systems higher. We're really just giving these AIs more compute and more energy and more data, and they get more intelligent and smarter and smarter. And that's the bitter truth to AI researchers is like, the spray and pray solution work? Really? But it does. And like, I think it's a fascinating connection to, again, nature's path of least resistance. Like,
Yeah.
why are you trying to input something that could just learn on its own?
Yeah, that has huge implications. So essentially, the human-fed data, like it has a lot of inefficiencies built into it, and so the AI is just going to maintain that inefficiency. So if you
Exactly.
let it run by itself, and let it determine its own strategies to solve whatever given problem it's asked to solve, it comes with new solutions and higher efficiency as a result. So, and I think that's ultimately why the metaverse has largely been disappointing, is because we've been bringing humans to the metaverse with our biases without and all those biases end up resulting in like negative results. And so what happens when you put in AGI into the metaverse? Like, what sort of simulation could evolve right into? So yeah, that's one of the experiments that we're looking into, kind of executing here eventually, just because we want to see what happens, and I think it's a worthy experiment. Right? Yeah, why not?
Yeah,
that'd be sick.
Yeah. So
tell us a little bit more about what you got going, because I think we have like 10-15 minutes left with Cypher Genesis, and how you're going to, I guess, propagate what you've already kind of like incepted within the Bitcoin ecosystem, and explain a little bit like how you even see like this whole agentic economy applying within like Ordinals.
Well, it'd be sick. I mean, one of the next steps, so I've been working for the last month, just like reforming the system and rebuilding the framework to support. And on the side, I really want to create a Bitcoin native agentic framework, which allows these AI agents to inscribe ordinals, airdrop ordinals, transact, and trade. I just think it's very interesting to have. And like one thing that I personally need is I have AI agents scraping news for me, like AI news. So like I can't check my timeline and go through, but I have an AI agent that could just read the timeline and then like every morning be like, yo, this is the new AI shit that dropped. Oh, here's a video script I made for you, by the way. So I could just like get into it. So like that's in development. Another thing for trading is like scraping the AI news or scraping the AI timeline or scraping the crypto timeline for alpha, for news, and like seeing what's going on. And eventually the goal is having these AI agents trade for you in your sleep so you don't miss anything. And I think that's the most EV plus thing we could all do right now, is try to like focus on these systems. But then again, it gets to a point where when everyone has these systems and like the game starts kind of like leveling out. And I think what's really interesting is a lot of people be talking about these prediction systems, but when you have AI that could predict everything and everyone has AI that can predict AI, it's like that essentially changes the future. So these prediction models and like these trading models don't really work anymore. So like it's almost an infinite game of PvP and constantly changing something to adapt to the meta. And yeah, for Cypher Genesis, like Cypher Genesis to me is an experiment, because one of my main goals with AI is how do I make a fully autonomous company? How do I turn Bitcoin Booze into a fully autonomous project where I don't have to give my input and it just keeps growing and growing and growing? Cypher Genesis is the marketing aspect of that to me. So Satoshi AI really is just how do I make an autonomous marketer agent that could represent itself and represent a coin and build a community and cultivate a community. And once I have that aspect out of the way, and like, yeah, a lot of that involves like rewarding your holders with inscriptions, playing games with them in community, engaging them with rewards, etc. Kind of automating that whole process. And yeah, kind of that is like ultimately part one. And like the AI image technology I talked about is I apply a lot of that to Booze and what I do, where I have like this 3D model of Satoshi that Bless made. And I also have all of my Bitcoin Boo art, and training an AI image model on both of the arts could now generate Satoshi in infinite situations, can now generate my Booze in infinite situations. So that all goes hand in hand with marketing in terms of visualizing what's going on, in terms of creating appealing content for people to see on their timeline. And everything my experiments have been so far.
What would you say, or what would you attribute to AI XBT's like market? What do you call it? The
mindshare.
Mindshare. Yeah. What with your AI background knowledge, like what is it about AI XBT and its ability to capture this mindshare? Like what is the difference between that AI and another Twitter bot?
It's just the data. At the end of the day, it's like I brought up, if your AI agent has good data, then it's gonna be a good bot. But really, you see it slip up a lot. Like it'll like cap on some things and hallucinate, and that's just what AI has a problem with doing. But I think really all AI XBT does is it scrapes the timeline for information about a project, So it could like search Twitter for information about a project, search some resources for information about a project, and I get the on-chain data of like what's been going on in the last 30 days with this project. And because AI is just naturally good at pattern recognition and observing and recognizing patterns, uh, it then creates like just interesting observations that humans find valuable. The other thing is the vibe, the personality. That bot's funny as fuck sometimes. I think that's ultimate, like the real thing that goes behind it. Because in terms of hit rate, it has like a 40% hit rate
Yeah.
of accuracy. But in terms of the vibe and like people using it as a KOL. And there's actually this other interesting observation I saw where anytime AI XBT brings up a community, that entire community will raid that tweet.
Yeah.
The entire community rating that tweet means that that post gets added to the algorithm on the timeline and AI XBT grows in following. So then the next time he tweets about another project or another ticker, that entire community raids a tweet. So every single time AI XBT is like tweeting about some project or some community, like it's getting rated, which is causing the algorithm to favor AI XBT more and more every single time. And it's almost this recursive snowball where the bigger AI XBT gets, the more mind share it has, the more your project pumps if it mentions it, the more you want to rate the post, the more that gets applied to the next post. So we're almost saying just like this recursive growth go on. As long as like the data could keep refreshing and as long as the vibe feels new, then yeah. It's almost funny how quickly humans gave up control to an AI influencer in terms of mindshare.
So true.
Way too quick.
That was
way
so
too fucking quick.
Probably
guys.
the most shocking thing I saw.
We've seen a lot of simps for AI XBT. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the simp meter's off the charts for sure, but for good reason, like you're saying. It's like per the design in a sense. It's almost like the market's figured out how to game it essentially, right, for their own benefit, right? So
exactly.
Yeah, but that can be iterated on and that can be improved, right? Where the reasoning maybe injection all of a sudden will these agents be able to kind of like decipher, I guess, like what is organic versus like inorganic, like data injections, you know?
Yeah.
Is that a possibility, you think?
Yeah, 100. You could definitely like call out bullshit as an AI, especially if you say like it could look at something like your Twitter reputation and have a database of who your reputation is as a person, as a Twitter thing. And it kind of already filters out like low quality Twitter accounts. Like, oh, this account is too new. I'm not going to bother replying. It's something you could already see in AI XBT. So like there are these filters that could get applied that are already applied and could get stronger over time depending on what's needed.
So do you think the lead it has is sort of reached like critical mass, but definitely you can develop better AI, better calls, better everything. So do you think the original like AI XBT, like it just happened to follow the right or to scrape the right KOLs when it first started? Like it would just happen to filter the right data set so that it plays along crypto Twitter better. Like that's like its genesis, and that's the only reason it's sort of gotten to this point.
Yeah, it's like first is always applied to the crypto space. So that's the lead it had.
Yeah.
It's just first is first. Oh, it's interesting. It's like getting a TLDR of data. And like it would be accurate. So people read this and it's like, oh, that's interesting. I didn't hear about this project and check it out. And then the snowball starts.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like that's sort of like the vibes that I've been getting, trying to understand like a lot of this stuff, and it just tends to make sense, like how it ended up rolling out to what it is. All right, we have a few more minutes, Bootoshi. Any final kind of messages for the community here about Cypher Genesis or Bitcoin Booze?
Damn, not really. I don't know. I just follow me if you want to see cool shit I make. Yeah. I hope it's cool. I just work. Oh, but I do stream. I want to plug my stream.
Yeah, sure.
So Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, I stream AI coding. And so 1 through 5 p.m. PST, Monday, Wednesday, I do streams. And then Friday through to 7 p.m. PST, I do streams. And I also have an AI class I run every Wednesday at 9 a.m. PST, where I just like personally walk through people a new product that drops or a concept or showcase a deeper level of AI coding, just to educate people on AI. Because like I really hope to spread a more positive message around AI and what's going on, because I'm a really firm believer in like, you don't have to worry about the future when you're in full control of the present. Like you're in full control of the future right now.
Yeah.
Everyone is. Every single person is in full control of like how they take their life forward, moving on. And like I don't want to just be AI doomer stuff. Like AI is sick, bro. I never had this much fun in my life working with like it's like I'm bringing digital life to existence on a daily basis and like making these new things. It's like wild territory. It's like you want to see, you think crypto's a wild west, bro? AI is like the wild west. And like now they're just like finally merging. We're seeing all these possibilities. But like ideas are all you need in AI, and to cultivate different ideas from different humans is so fascinating for me to see. So I really enjoy educating people on what's possible with AI and seeing people's minds race. Because one thing that I find a lot of joy in is when I show someone that something is possible, then their mind starts racing with a bunch of ideas where it's like, oh, like what if we did this? Can you do this with it? I'm like, yeah, you can do that. You can do anything. Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, that's super, super valid. But yeah, just plugging in my stream and then the classes I do.
All right. Well, I want to thank you for your time, Bootoshi. I am looking at your website. It's bootoshi.ai, and I'm seeing the weekly AI dev streams on Twitch. So again, it's Monday 1 through 5 p.m. Pacific time, and then Wednesday 1 through 5, and Friday 3 to 7 Pacific time. So all the links will be in the description for everybody watching. And again, Bootoshi, thank you so much for joining us. Hopefully we can have you back on
for bringing me on. It was cool. I love watching you guys' show.
Hell yeah,
like the origin of Ordinals was sick. Always high quality.
Thank you, dude.
Yeah, appreciate that, man. All right, guys. Thank you guys for watching, and we will catch you in the next podcast.
Peace.